Well, I will start with a short story as well. Before the buzzword arrived, everybody's talking about agent right now. If they're agents or workflows or another kind of automations, it doesn't really matter that much, in my opinion, in that point. And the story I was about to tell you is started around an year ago. My partner Vic and I was working on a software project. And in order to increase his productivity, he created a tool so that the tool was aware of our code base and of our goals. And at the end of the day, with some instructions, it was able to create small pieces of code which were practically tailor-made and designed to fit directly in our existing code base. I was pretty impressed how much the productivity can increase using such a tool. And the story went on. A couple of weeks later, I received an offer from a German company. They wanted to buy a piece of software I built before. It was a ticketing platform. I'm coming from the entertainment sector. And the catch was that this ticketing platform was built for internal use only. So I didn't have the proper documentation so I can sell it. And I asked a couple of dev companies for an offer to write the documentation I need in order to can sell this product. And they quoted between 250 and 400 hours back then, a year ago. Then I thought of Vic's tool, and I was like, Vic, can we feed in the code of my ticketing platform in your coding tool so it understands the code and the functionalities? And can you make it write the documentation I need? And he was like, okay, we could do that, but let me tell you how it works. So, for a non-tech person, in the middle of everything is a large language model. In order to can do something for the particular project, it needs a contextual knowledge, so it knows the whole context. It needs some instructions, and it needs some tools so it can do the job. And Victor was like, we have to change all of these components in order to make my tool to work for your case with the documentation. And this is not going to be an easy thing because everything is hard-coded. At the end of the day, Victor took his time and the tool wrote the documentation I need. So it cost us a couple of hours of Vic's time, a couple of dollars for LLM costs, and after a bit of manual editing, the documentation was perfect. So at the end of the day, we went from a quotation between 250 and 400 hours to around 10 hours, which was a factor of 25 to 400. We saw firsthand that something big is happening. And I didn't close the deal with the Germans for some reasons. But Victor and I sat together and were talking about it. What can we do so those tools, which are as effective as it seems, are easier to build and easier to use without all the hard coding and without all the dev stuff? So we wrote our own framework, our own software, which practically allows us to exchange every one of the components a different LLM, a different contextual knowledge, and different instructions and tool. And this is practically all you need to create custom LLM systems, LLM AI systems for different cases. This is what we are doing right now. We are implementing AI systems for industries. And the guy who knows the real stuff and really deeply how it's done is my partner, Victor, who is about to tell you his input in this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Victor. I'm a technical person at Keen, and this is the first time I ever present in front of a crowd like this, so bear with me. All right, so a lot of companies are talking about agents, agent this, agent that, but none of them are actually, or very few are telling you how it actually works at the basics. First off, the LLMs, some of them are multimodal. Forget that for a moment. Forget that they can generate images and audio. Just think about the text that they're producing. This is the only way, or the main way, in order to get the LLMs to actually do actions. And how they actually do it is that we need to first instruct them that they're going to have tools. And after they produce the text, we need to do a few things. First off, we need to capture the module's intent. So at the simplest example at the bottom, I don't know if people in the back can see it, but I will say it. Let's say the LLMs are bad at maths. We want to be able for the LLM to use the calculator. We're telling the LLM, hey, you can have the calculator usage by saying the words calculator and then 2 dots. After that, whatever the calculation is, we will do it for you, for the model. We instruct the model to do that, and whenever the model, the agent, wants to use a tool, in this example, simple, a calculator, we just capture the module's intent. How do we capture the module's intent? Well, with code. With code, it's the basic stuff. It's the easiest way. And we just search for the word calculator. Once we find it in the output of the LLM, we simply parse it, we know it, and we have the calculation that the executor has to do. After we execute the action, we simply give back the output back to the LLM. This is the most basic way of building agents. Again, if I have to say it, the model produces text, we capture what the model wants to do, we execute it through code, and then we return back the output to the LLM. This is the basic way. Some notes for developers. Return the errors as well. If you have some kind of weird try catch, you don't have to build it. You can simply give the error back to the LLM. And you can ask the LLM, hey, what went wrong? And you don't have to debug. Okay, so we talked about instructing the LLM. How do we actually instruct the LLM? Well, Greg Brockman gave us a little bit of insight on how to do that. This is the president of OpenAI. And he gave us some structure, which is very nice if you're a junior AI prompt engineer or whatever. So you have to know that at the top, whatever LLMs receive first as instructions, these are the most important. This is what matters for the LLM first. At the top, always say what your end goal is. And in the example of the calculator, we're telling it, hey, we're going to provide you with information. I need you to calculate something. And basically, you're going to be connected to a tool, the calculator. After that, we have the return format. Basically, as I said, in order to capture the module's intent, it needs to be in certain format. The format can be tool calling, JSON format, it can be MCP, Module Context Protocol, Some of you might know it, Anthropic released it about 6 months ago or something like this. And then any warnings. Warning in this example would be never calculate on your own, always use the tool. Some tips for developers. Models do work better with positive instructions other than negative. If you have a negative instruction, always follow up with a positive one. For example, here, never try to calculate on your own, always use the calculator provided to you. And this simple instruction right here, you have an agent that can use the calculator. Done. You have created your first agent. And at the bottom, of course, we have the context dump. As I said, the model goes from top to bottom as importance. So the end goal has to be at the top. The context dump needs to be at the bottom. Context dump is basically your information. Would that be from database or anything else? All right, so after you know how to build one agent, you need to know where do you build the agent. Do you have a task that it's simple? You have to build it for your own. Maybe you have a little workflow for your job that you want to optimize. You can build it from scratch with the previous 2 slides that we talked about, and basically have your own AI agent. Now, the second approach is for companies. If you're a company, you have to know where you're going to place your agents. There are different places where you're going to include the agents. It's not just, okay, we're going to build it from scratch in some kind of a language, we're going to follow this stuff and boom, we have agents. No, you have to think about this new agentic layer, at which point you're going to put it. And I'm going to give you a few examples. For non-technical people, just quickly, I'm going to go through. This is the most simplest structure how you can build traditional software. You have presentation layer, which is what your users basically see, front-end UI, connected via APIs, and so on. You have the business layer. Basically, all of your logic is there. Moving authorization, authentication, any kind of business that the user doesn't see. And you have data access layer, which is database or any kind of other information that you might have. Now, we'll start with data access layer, a database manager. So one of the agents that we have built, we gave the ability to an agent one tool, execute SQL queries. One tool. And from that one tool, we can now have a chatbot asking about the SQL database that we have, almost anything. We don't have to build from the scratch up data access layer, business logic, presentation layer, complex bloated front-end UI. No, we can simply give the database and say, hey, you can execute SQL queries the same way as you can execute calculator. And basically, here you go. Everyone at your company now can ask your data in the company any question they want. Agent generate and run complex queries, enables everyone basically to ask information of what's happening in your company. And I'm going to show you a few examples of how you can avoid this whole process of actually programming it from the bottom up. Let's say one person needs a specific query. You don't need to give to the developers to build it from the scratch up. You can actually give the agent to everyone in your company. Now, for non-technical people, the left side, don't look at that. You don't have to think about this. I'm just wanting to make a point to the developers in the room and the people that are actually building the agents. Think about what type of questions are you not able to ask your admin dashboard? What type of questions you want to have insight on in your company? Something that is not yet built. And these questions, I gave you some of the at the top. They're very generic ones because I can't really put for everyone's industry. But think about them. You can now skip this part with building the software from the scratch up and actually talk to the agent. Here are some examples. You want to know the monthly revenue trend per category for the past year. You can, all of them, by the way, are successful in our agents, all of those queries, and are automatically generated. You can have customer lifetime value on average order size. You can have repeated customers who bought more than 3 categories, all types of questions. It doesn't really matter. Orders that were paid but never shipped, maybe that's important information that you want to know, and you currently don't have a button in the admin dashboard that actually does that. Most active shippers by average delivery speed. By the way, for developers, all of these queries you no longer need to think about and actually do. Only the most complex ones will be left for you, the ones that AI can't do. Product ratings distribution, rank customers by revenue within month, and so on. Now, the developers already have something in mind. Yeah, but I can tell the AI to delete the database. No, you can't. We gave only read-only access, meaning that the AI and the agents and the user that's using the AI cannot delete, alter, change any of the information. They can only read information from the database. So your information is safe. Okay, some more tips for developers. Start with your goal, your end goal. Give the tools, just like I explained, and let it run. See where it breaks. Once it breaks, go back to your instructions and reiterate. Change something, move things around, move the warnings or the context dump, change it around, repeat your end goal twice, whatever it might be. Break it, fix it, repeat it. Don't use other AIs to improve your own instructions. That's a big thing. Think of your instructions like this is the last thing that we are tasked to do with AI. Give the instructions. Push it to the limit. And then this is a big one. Here for all the developers, it's huge. Ask the agent what went wrong. You can ask the agent. Don't just break the agent and say, oh, it doesn't work. Ask it. You have a chatbot right there. And if you did the errors from the first slide back to the LLM correctly, the LLM will actually tell you, hey, this is what went wrong. This is what I don't understand. This is why the LLM thinks something went wrong, whatever it might be. And the most powerful question that you can ask out of those 3 is, were there any conflicting instructions? Which is huge. Because we as humans sometimes make mistakes in instructing the AI. And when you ask the LLM, hey, what went wrong? The LLM can say, maybe in the instructions, something I did not understand. Go back to the instructions, fix it, and reiterate. All right, so we talked about agents in the data layer. We saw how it works. In the business layer, it's a little bit more complex. You don't really need chatbots there. You just need to do the LLM to do 1 or 2 operations. For example, move unstructured data into structured data, or read PDFs, extract information, put them in database, whatever that might be. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically automating workflows where brute forcing the problem with traditional code systems is not right. And finally, something that we saw with the previous presentation from Svetozar, agents in the presentation layer. Something that we're changing the way that we're building software from these complex, bloated dashboards to a chatbot where we can not only ask specific questions, but we're actually connecting to tools, function calling, API calls, curl commands, whatever that might be. So basically, you have already existing systems. You don't need to build them from the ground up to create AI agents. You can have them on existing presentation layer, on existing build functionalities. You can just reuse what you already have. And here, I'm showcasing one of our partners, Technofarm. They asked us to do an onboarding for the user. On the left, you can see their old way of onboarding the user with asking information, basic information, and so on. And on the right, you can see our agent. It's in Bulgarian, but basically you can ask it questions like, hey, why do you need this information? Or can you check information for me? The agent has connections to basically the whole documentation of the UI. So it's basically automatically the agent does the onboarding. And the software that we talked about, that it might be hard for newcomers to actually use, there is no longer to use it like this. We just gave whatever the system already has built in. We gave the filtering, the get, the put, all of these functions that the system already has. We gave them to the LLM agent, and we now can ask all kinds of questions, even questions that the ordinary system so far does not allow to actually execute. And final thoughts, LLMs are getting cheaper and better. Cost versus usefulness is soon going to be a no-brainer. Things are getting cheaper. For the past 2.5 years, cost per million of tokens went down like by a factor of 100, even if not more. We're seeing agents being useful, hallucinating less, being able to do more work for longer and better. And when you build for the future, build for it to work, don't worry about the cost. It's going to work. And if it doesn't right now, the next module that releases, it's going to work. So that's that. The moment new, better, cheaper modules are released, you can basically reduce your cost, have a better system. You just need to change one line of code. Instead of GPT-4, GPT-5. That's it, one line of code. And finally, this is the worst AI we will ever be. It's going to only get faster, my humble opinion. It's going to get better and exponentially better and faster. So the barrier for entry has never been lower to get into a technology. If you can read and write, you can use AI. Thank you.